Hey guys, Josh here from Triune Enterprises, and in this video we're going to be dissecting a very common packaging method on bone-in hams, which uses a PVC disc on the front H-bone and a soaker pad as the bone guard on the back body bone. So we're going to be dissecting that, and then we're going to be recommending our product solutions from Triune Enterprises, which would be a contact clear bone guard on the front and ham wrap on the back body bone. So let's dive into it. On the front, it's very common, I've taken the label off on the front, but it's very common for processors to obviously put their label over, and a lot of times from what I've heard is they're trying to basically cover up the appearance of that disc, which is obviously understandable. Packaging is key. You want your product, your presentation to be fantastic on a retail display, and so a lot of times the label will go over the front. The problem with this is that if the label is not true center, or it's off to the left or the right, a lot of times the disc will be exposed from there. On this ham I've taken the label off, but this was the one that I picked up from the store. The label was off-centered, so you could see the disc on the back half. The label was like this, and the back half of the disc was able to be visible to the customer. So let's dive in, let's cut this package open, and let's see the problems that we'll find with this PVC disc. Alright, so we're getting this open here. Okay. And I'm going to stop cutting it short all the way through because I want to talk a little bit about the disc and how it affects the bag on the outside. So the disc, again, punched into the inside of that marrow bone, but a lot of times the processors, if in line, they're not pressing this disc all the way flush and they're letting it stick out even a little bit. A lot of times what will happen is when this goes into the bag, this will cause a lot of pressure points right around all the edges here. And we're not talking about just one sharp edge. Basically, the entire disc itself can cause a pressure point all the way around. So on the inline processors, if they're not pushing this disc flush enough, they're going to cause a leaker a lot of times in line just like that. The other problem with this disc is that when a consumer opens this package up at home, a lot of times, almost every time as a matter of fact, the disc is left inside the marrow bone. It doesn't come off with the package. And if you look at any forms during Easter or Thanksgiving or Christmas, a lot of times people leaving this piece in there, they're cooking the hams with it. Now, obviously it doesn't cause a contamination problem, but it obviously provides, or it doesn't really solve a solution because the customer now has to remove this piece before they go to cook the ham. And so that can cause some problems too, some unnecessary issues, some unnecessary complaints from customers, where our solution, we're going to show in a little bit, when you have the ham on there after the hot shrink process, the bone guard will come off with the ham. So that's the disc itself. And again, it's very rigid. It's not soft. It can cause a lot of leakers in line just from its rigidness. And in a lot of cases, leakers are caused, especially from this packaging method, from that front H-bone, which is kind of sneaky in my opinion because it doesn't necessarily look like it's going to be a sharp edge bone. It doesn't necessarily look like it's going to be right angle bone you may see on a chine bone, but it still can cause a lot of problems if not protected properly. Okay, so let's dive in now to the back end of this. And we're going to be looking at the soaker pad and talking a little bit about the soaker pad and why using a soaker pad as a bone guard is not effective in a lot of cases. So we've taken this off. The soaker pad stayed in place in the back, which is fine, which is nice, which is the same thing that's going to happen with our ham wrap. However, a soaker pad can either be one of two things. Either A, it's going to be a soaker pad to absorb purged juices, or B, it can be a bone guard. But a soaker pad cannot be both a bone guard and a soaker pad. And I'm going to talk about that in a little bit about why that can't happen. So the back body bone presents some challenges because you not only have sharp edges here on the back of that bone, but in particular on a retail display, the ham is going to primarily sit there and it's going to be handled, and it needs to have a cushioning effect on that back body bone when it's in a retail display. And the soaker pad, in a lot of cases, when it's applied after a vacuum bag, in this case it worked well, but in many cases the soaker pad isn't centered. And so after the vacuum is pulled, a lot of times you'll still see the bone that can be exposed and not protected, which can also provide, not provide, but it will yield the leaker in line in a lot of cases if the soaker pad's not dead on. So this soaker pad is a soaker pad, I believe ready to absorb 90 grams of moisture absorbency. And if I go to squeeze it, not a lot, to be honest, has been absorbed in here. And that's not from a situation that the soaker pad did its job absorbing purged juices. It's that it released a lot of those juices back into the packaging. Again, a soaker pad can either be something used to absorb juices, or it can be used to protect against bone punctures, but it cannot do both. And that's why this packaging method yields to be ineffective. So let's recommend some solutions on this and how this processor can save anywhere from 25 to 40% on packaging costs. So on that front H-bone, to replace the PVC disc, we're going to recommend our Contact Clear Bone Guard, which comes available in pre-cut sheets. So this can easily be grabbed by a processor in line, placed directly over that front H-bone. The material sticks well to the juicy nature of the ham product. This will stay in place into further packaging. And then again, when the customer goes to remove the bag at home after the hot shrink processes, what's happening is that the bag, when it's removed, this piece will come off with it. And it's not going to stay in place like the PVC disc did in the prior packaging method. Okay? To recommend on the back body bone, to replace the soaker pad, we're going to recommend our ham wrap. This is a perforated piece which was customized to fit this size. The piece goes around perfectly right over that back body bone. And what I love about this is not only will this provide a cushioning effect and a much better bone guard protection than the soaker pad, but this blends in so much better, in my opinion, than the brown of a soaker pad or with the patch on a Cryovac patch bag. This will provide the cushioning effect. And again, after the hot shrink process, when the customer takes the bag off at home, the bone guard is staying in the bag, coming off that ham. This packaging method will save a processor anywhere from 25 to 40%. A boneless bag cannot go around this. We haven't added any extra labor than this packaging method here. This is manually applied, the soaker pad and the PVC disc. This packaging method is perfect. This will reduce leakers by up to 99%, meaning that less than 1% of leakers in transportation or before they leave your plant will cause a problem or an issue. And that's how we can save you big time packaging bone and ham from Triune Enterprises.